And we are back. We have a super special guest today. She's an actor. She is a yoga enthusiast. Phoebe Miu, thanks for joining us.
Hello.
Yeah, how you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Great. So we're going to talk about your fitness journey. So let's go back to when you're growing up. You grew up in Hong Kong, correct?
Yes.
Great. So take me
Right.
through that. And you played sports, and how'd you get into it?
Well, I grew up in a like a British school. I grew up in a bunch of British schools and extracurriculars was a huge thing. Like it was a huge part of our just daily school life. So I like my parents put me in a bunch of different sports. I got really into swimming really early. So yeah, I was a swimmer all the way through school competitively, and I yeah, and then around high school I got into basketball. So then I kind of straddled both, and it made my life just solely sports. I had
Yeah.
like no time for anything else, and yeah, it was just like swimming in the morning, basketball after school, and that consumed me. But I was obsessed with basketball. I fell in love with it, and almost more than swimming, because it kind of like the kind of single-mindedness of swimming, and the fact that it's, you don't have a team to kind of hold you up there. You're kind of battling against yourself the whole time. Can get pretty lonely, and it's just a lot of pressure to put on one person. But I am definitely a team person more so.
That was actually the next thing I was going to ask you was obviously swimming is so solo and basketball is such a team sport. So like which did you prefer? But I guess you kind of just answered that yourself.
Yeah, totally. Like, I mean, I love swimming so much just for how it makes me feel. And I guess like growing up, because I figured I was good at it, I should just like keep at it. And I loved competing and everything, but there's just something about that horn going off now that just sets off PTSD in my brain.
Right.
um, but I love team sports. Like I love being a part of a team. I love seeing the magic that can be made when we all work together. I don't like being the only one doing the stuff, or I don't like being the only one holding the ball. I like seeing where the ball goes. I like running plays, and that's what basketball did for me. It also made, like, I made my best friends playing basketball.
Cool. So was that sort of your intro into fitness? I assume with basketball and swimming, you also do some stuff outside of, off the court or out of the pool in terms of your training.
So like, I mean, I also, because I just had to stay fit for both sports, I ran a lot. Um, and I guess like just physical health and like feeling good was a huge part of why I did what I did.
Hmm.
So yeah, I would just run on my off days, and so I made the track team and cross country and all that stuff, and that was just a side thing that I would do because I could. And um, yeah, that was just like a part of staying fit for the sports.
So you mentioned extracurriculars being really important in your schooling growing up and stuff. Is that like a cultural thing in Hong Kong? Was that what you mean by that?
I don't think so, actually. Like, Hong Kong is Hong Kong has this weird dichotomy where there's this one part of it that's really conservative, and kids are, everything you would expect from an Asian school culture, academic culture, where, kids are just solely focused on the work and don't really have time for sports or anything. Like, it's all just about getting good grades and going to good schools. Um, but there's another part of Hong Kong that's very colonial, because the British took over for so long.
Mm,
And thankfully, I'm really fortunate that I got to be a part of that world. And so parents weren't so focused on their kids, being the best at school. As long as they got by, they wanted them to have an all-rounded education. So like I got to, explore and do sports, play instruments, join the band,
yeah.
and just kind of see what worked for me. But like I got really lucky with parents that are, you
Cool.
know, that let me do that.
Yeah. So when swimming and basketball and those things sort of, when you stopped competitively playing those sports, what was next for you? Did you start exercising in a gym or on your own, or what kind of things did you do after that?
So I went to college. I went to UBC, and that was, I guess, like when I moved to Vancouver, and I would swim at the UBC pool, and then I would play
Cool.
like intramural basketball. I like I used to be the only girl playing pickup basketball at school, like at the rec center every day.
Yeah.
I was like one of two girls that would go there, and I would play pickup with a bunch of dudes,
That's
and I
awesome.
would prove myself like every single time.
Yeah.
Be like, it's okay, you can have me on your team. I won't make us lose. Um,
That's badass.
yeah, but and it was just so fun. Like that's all again at UBC. That's how I made friends. Playing basketball.
So were you also acting when you were like in high school and playing these sports and stuff, or did that come later?
I was, but not like seriously. Like I did high school theater,
Yep.
and I don't know if you're familiar with the IB program, but like I just did like a higher level theater program for
Right.
like my last 2 years of high school, and yeah, like I wasn't super serious about it. I didn't think I was going to become an actor, and I didn't think I was going to become an actor in university either.
Yep.
So kind of like that kind of happened later on, but it's kind of when I figured like sports could only I wasn't going to be a professional sports player.
Right. It's
Yeah,
interesting because I feel like people usually fall into either like being a sports jock or being a theater nerd or something. But like I'm the same as you because I did theater all through school and stuff, but I was also playing sports, so I had to like straddle those two different, very different worlds.
yeah, and I guess like when because most of us aren't Steph Curry.
Right.
Like at the end of the day, you're like, well, there's more longevity in exploring the arts than
Right.
the sports because my body will only last so long.
Yeah, exactly. So what are you doing now in terms of workouts? I know I see on your social media you do a lot of yoga, stuff like that. So what's that like for you now?
I do. Well, yoga's kind of honestly, yoga has been an interesting thing for me because I've always loved doing it. But I wasn't really actively pursuing yoga like before COVID hit.
Yeah.
COVID hit and that kind of propelled everything because I like figured that yoga was so meditative for me and it made me feel so good afterwards. And it was a good way to still be moving on my off days because I do a lot of home workouts. So I do so the workouts I actually do more are like I do shadow boxing, hit, and like some sculpt workouts that I've found very very helpful online.
Okay.
Um, and and so in between, I would slip it like on my rest days, I would slip in yoga. Um, and like when I first started, it was just very beginner yoga, and then I started to do more and more and more. And it's kind of been just like a process of discovery for me. And like sometimes I would just record it and like see how it looks, and if it looks legit, I'm like, oh,
I'm gonna post
I'm
this. It looks
making
legit.
progress. Yeah, yeah.
That's good. So sounds like you have some variety in your workouts then.
Yeah, I've had to keep it interesting just because like just the monotony of the day to day of COVID life has been
Sure.
so painful. Like you
Yeah.
have to find different ways to mix your days up and keep them interesting.
So how do you stay motivated, especially during a global pandemic, to exercise every day?
Healthy, like
Yep.
healthiness, like just feeling healthy. I've been so deathly terrified. If you ask any of my friends, they'll tell you that I've been insanely paranoid about this this pandemic, and like at any sign of like a headache or some kind of congestion, I'm like I have COVID,
You have
and
COVID.
so
My
in
life is over.
I know like literally my life is over. I have to stay home for 14 days. Kill me now. But yeah, like just out of fear of getting sick at all, I've just been trying really, really hard to stay healthy. So honestly, I'm probably the most fit I've been since high school.
Sure. And
Yeah.
what's your nutrition like? Do you follow any sort of anything specific, or
I
what's
try
that side
to
like?
be healthy. Like I don't eat meat anymore. I still eat fish, so I guess pescatarian.
Yep.
And that's been going for like 3 years now. And I found that it really helped me like feel lighter. I felt very groggy before eating red meat. So after cutting that out, it just made a world of difference. And I started taking a lot more supplements. Yeah, I'm on my vitamin C game and vitamin D and all the vitamins.
The entire alphabet of
All
vitamins.
mushrooms. Yeah. Yeah.
Nice. Okay, that's good. So, how did you kind of learn how to exercise when you started? So you got out of playing competitive sports and stuff. Now you're doing a lot of home kind of workouts. Did you just learn online or with a trainer, or how did you learn when you started?
Um, I learned I did a lot of group fitness classes
Yeah.
before. Like I used to go to bar, and then I went to like Thai club, and I actually this is, I guess, fun fact, but like I went and trained to teach spin for like a whole year. Well, I got really into spin
Cool.
the 2 years leading up to COVID, and I was spinning like every day, and it was the best workout. And then that last year, I started training to teach, and I like taught for a hot second, and then it didn't work out in terms of balancing teaching and work, just because I realized like it was such a passion. Like even with spin, like teaching spin, it's such a passion based job. Like you
Yeah.
really have to care because of the energy you have to bring to every class and
Yeah.
share it with everybody in the room. Um, it didn't seem like I could, like I felt like I just couldn't balance that and work, and considering work would take me out of it anytime. Um, yeah, that didn't work out, but it was a really fun time in my life, and I did learn a lot about fitness. I had to, yeah, there
Cool.
was a lot of like very technical training on, form and like different types of workouts that you could do on the bike.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah,
I
that was
see. I
great.
like I don't do spin myself, but I see some really wild stuff with like people like doing weights while they're on the
Oh yeah,
spin bike and all sorts of crazy stuff. So it looks like a pretty crazy workout.
yeah, it is an intense workout. Like you don't think you would get your arms worked that hard, but
Yeah.
I think they're
You,
like the most sore after your first session.
you mentioned shadow boxing. We worked on a really fun sci-fi project together where you got pretty physical. So it seems to me like you really like physical type, like badass kind of roles. Um,
A lot of fun doing those.
yeah, like how do you kind of prep yourself for something like that? And do you see yourself or do you want to do more of those types of like action or stunt kind of sequences?
I would love to. Honestly, like I mean, that's never been something that I like that was like, I'm solely working towards that kind of role. But from experience, like doing that, every time I do it, I have so much fun. I'm like getting so much out of it because on top of just acting, you're learning how to dance.
Yeah, for sure.
And to prep for it, really, like it's one of the reasons why I wanted to get into shadow boxing is to get better at that kind of movement and the coordination, and to make it really look good, like to make it sell.
Yeah.
Everything about acting, like fighting for camera, is making it sell. And yeah, I struggled with that really early on when I first did stunt ish things, but um, I find that getting into shadow boxing really helped.
I think that's huge, and it's a lot of fun when you're on set and you get to see an actor doing their own, at least some of their own
Yeah,
stunts.
and
Because
I want to do all of mine. Like they all look
yeah,
so fun. I'm like, why can't I do them all?
for sure, yeah. So I'm sure shadow boxing is obviously going to be huge for that. Throwing a punch. I mean, I've
Or like
been on set with people that, yeah, I've been on set with people that couldn't even throw that punch, and then it becomes so hard to get the close-ups and stuff, right? Because you're
Yeah, because either way, like even if you get a stunt double, there's shots where they need you for it, and
sure,
you really have to make things line up. Like your stunt's gonna do a far better job, so you want to at least kind of match.
right.
Yeah,
Plus, it's fun to get to punch people and get paid.
so fun.
Yeah,
I mean, I didn't get to punch you. That would have been nice.
that's true. Well, yeah, let's not drop any spoilers. I mean, maybe there is a punch in there. I don't know. What would you say for people who are maybe listening, who are just starting on their fitness journey, or maybe just thinking about exercising? Like, do you have any advice for people that are just brand new? Maybe they didn't grow up playing sports. It wasn't something that they're used to. How do you get up and off the couch and into fitness, some kind of fitness?
I mean, I think this time that we're going through right now is enough of a motivator. Just because people are talking about like, and it's not that I'm free of this. Like people are talking about anxiety, about depression, about just like lack of motivation, and the only way to kind of alleviate yourself from that, or at least reduce that, um, is to make yourself feel good, and it comes from like mentally, like your mental health and your physical health. So working out is like it releases a dopamine rush that is incomparable to anything else you could do sitting on your couch.
Yep.
And I find that like during this time, being able to work out and improve my body has not only like made me feel good, but also given me some kind of like sense of control
Yep.
over the whole situation. Just because like I can't control what's going on out there, but at least I can control where I'm at and how I look and how I feel.
Cool.
um, so that's something I hope.
Yeah, that's great. So, as someone who's on TV a lot, do you feel pressure to look a certain way?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it
Is that do you feel that's more like internalized pressure that you're creating, or do you actually feel that from external factors?
I mean, it's not, I wouldn't say it's pressure, but it definitely is like motivation just to always like look and be your best.
Hmm.
It sucks. It is kind of I don't know. It's a good. There's good and bad to that. Just because everybody expects people to be absolutely perfect on TV, and it's such a it creates so much self doubt sometimes.
Yeah, especially I feel like being in Vancouver, where we often like the turnaround time is so quick. You can audition for something and you're shooting 3 days later. So it's like we don't have time, we don't have months to get into shape for a role or something. It's like we're shooting it next week. So you never know, right?
I know so many people that have just gone on like crash diets and like they don't drink water for 3 days, or they
Yeah.
and it's I've never, thankfully I've never had to do that, or I really hope I don't have to do that.
Yeah.
uh, but but that is the reality of our work. Sometimes you have months to prep if you're lucky,
Yeah.
but most
Yeah.
of us, oh, we'll need you on set in 2 days, and you're like,
Yeah.
I am still working off the turkey from Thanksgiving, or you
Exactly.
know
Exactly. Okay, what are you into that's nerdy? Do you watch any of the comic book movies or any cartoons or anything? What do you like that's nerdy?
my nerdiest binge was honestly the Game of Thrones.
Game of Thrones. Okay, sweet. Let's talk about that for a minute because
That's
I
usually
loved Game of Thrones,
pretty good.
but I hated the last two seasons, so it messed it up for me.
I totally get that. I wasn't. I haven't felt like the last season left me like blue balls.
Yeah, yeah, that's yeah, that's a good way to describe it. There was definitely a lot of like hanging threads that they never addressed, and I just felt like they were headed such great directions with so many of these characters, and then they just had took like a weird like left turn on so many of them at the end and just left them hanging.
Well, it felt so rushed, and that's because they had to compress 2 seasons worth of stuff into one, basically.
Right.
Um, and and like so much happened that was kind of unexplained, and then they started I don't know, it felt a little bit more contrived near the end.
Hmm.
You know, so as soon as they brought on new writers,
Right.
I felt like it kind of became more mainstream.
It fell apart a bit at the end. Do you watch like the Avengers or any of the Marvel universe?
I do like I love those movies, and I try to keep up to date with everyone that comes out. I recently watched Wonder Woman.
Great. Like the new one or the
Yeah,
first one? Okay, cool.
which was awesome.
Yeah, yeah, she's great.
It was so good. Gal Gadot is just well, it's her and uh
Chris Pine.
Chris Pine
Yeah, he's
that
so
are
good.
yeah, they're so good together. And
What's something really interesting about you that we don't know?
really
I
interesting.
know this is a big question to throw at you.
Interesting.
You
I
have to have one really fun fact.
One fun fact. Damn, I already
I
said
know.
I trained to be a spin instructor.
Okay,
Here's
that's true.
something
That's
else. Let's see. That'll be kind of interesting. I don't like to be home when the sun is setting. So I am out for a walk every day when the sun sets.
okay.
And I come home when it's dark.
That is very interesting. Okay, let's go. We got a little speed round of
Okay.
fitness and nerd related questions. So you gotta have quick answers for these. Okay, what's your favorite yoga pose?
Um, um, uh, Downward dog.
Downward dog, great pose. What's your dream superhero role for you?
Dreams.
It can be somebody that's already been cast. I mean, they reboot these things every like couple years anyway. Dream superhero role for you?
Oh, well, I would love to play Wonder Woman. I just
Wonder
love
Woman.
that.
Okay, you
That's
could be the
so.
next Wonder Woman. What do you listen to when you work out?
Um, I listen to my workout playlist. It's full of like kind of like spinny songs like Kygo and
Okay,
like Griffin and maybe some crazy weird remixes, Skrillex things.
Skrillex. Okay,
Yeah. And then like some Ken, it's like it's so eclectic. And then I like throw in some Kendrick and Drake.
nice. What's the best comic book movie ever made?
Best
Got to think really hard. There's a
Batman,
million. Which
Batman,
which which
Dark
Batman?
Dark Knight Rises.
Dark Knight Rises. Okay, good choice. What's your favorite restaurant?
Um, I've been ordering a lot from La Taqueria.
Good spot. Which this is funny because I had this question written down and I didn't know you were going to say The Dark Knight Rises, but which actor is your favorite Batman?
That is so hard. I think just for nostalgia reasons, like growing up, the Clooney Batman.
Clooney Batman. I think you're the only person ever that has said George Clooney is your favorite Batman. I don't even
Well,
think.
just because, like, and was he the best Batman? I wouldn't say, but like, if just like the most nostalgic one.
Right. That's the Batman you knew when you were growing
Yeah.
up.
Well, when I was growing
Yeah.
up, it was like like what, the 90s?
Yes. Mid 90s. I don't even think George Clooney is George Clooney's favorite Batman.
No.
So that's incredible. Not the answer I was expecting, but that's amazing. What's your favorite brand of fitness clothing?
Ooh. I mean, I say really generic Nike.
Okay.
Like, I actually have so much Nike. It's
What's your favorite place to work out?
at home
You know, okay.
right
And
now.
who is the best member of the Avengers? She's thinking really hard. She's thinking so hard right now.
um,
She's trying to think of an Avenger.
Thor. I love
Thor. Okay,
Thor.
great answer. You love Thor or you love Chris Hemsworth or both?
I love Chris Hemsworth.
Okay, fair answer. Speaking of working out, that dude works out.
That works out.
That dude works out. Yeah. Sweet.
Yeah.
Okay, let's
Now
get
I'm gonna work.
now you're gonna work out. You're motivated by Chris Hemsworth and Thor. You could play a female Thor, maybe. Where can we find you on social media?
At Phoebe Miu
Great.
on Instagram, and I don't tweet a lot, but you can find me on Twitter.
You are on Twitter. You exist on Twitter.
I exist.
Okay, great. Thanks for coming on the show. I appreciate it.
Thanks for having me, Brady.